Hey everyone, welcome to the newsletter, and we're here live at PASIC. Can you believe it? And I actually flew in Monday when they opened the doors to fly into the country. So it's incredible. And on top of that, today we have a very special guest who got to the Hall of Fame this year, and an incredible musician, educator, mentor. If you would like to know anything about anything in percussion world or music world, that's the man I always call and I always get help. So please, happy to have you here, Jim Campbell.
Thanks so much, Anders.
And we know each other since 98, when I visited your school the first time.
Yeah.
But I have a story when I saw you the first time. It was 95 at Northwestern University.
Zildjian Day?
Yeah, so it was, Burrit hosted a Zildjian Day, and you did both cymbal clinic, plus you played snare drum, and talk about, and I know that you always had this marching thing, and I always have it. And marching seems to be kind of stiff, but suddenly it's like, here is this melodic, beautiful, wonderful drum playing. I was like, wow, I need to know this person. And happily, since then since 97 or 98 we met, and I was down to your school.
Yeah.
Had a chance to start to work together, and since then, wow, fantastic.
That's great. Good to be here and good to talk to an old friend.
So Jim, we about cymbals, which the whole story. What took you into? First of all, you're an artist with Zildjian since when?
Well, I can't give you the years because it would show you my age, but it's since my professional playing,
Fantastic.
Pretty much.
What took you into to this?
Well, when you're a percussionist, and I've always liked to play in a lot of genres. Marching percussion I've taught and played. I play drum set with a jazz group, and I play principal percussion at Lexington Philharmonic. So you're surrounded by cymbals. That's the common denominator. I teach a percussion ensemble at school. So cymbals is what kind of defines your sound as an artist, and sound is the most important thing. So I started to notice all the players I liked, the orchestras I liked, the drummers I listened to, all played Zildjian, and I said I've got to get some cymbals that make me sound as good as them, and it kind of led me to attend Zildjian clinics, go to the booth at PASIC, and the outreach they had when I was going through school and becoming a young professional. The clinics they gave, the clinicians that would come through, they were the best in the business. And that education component that they supported really helped me grow as a teacher, and then as someone who was then educated about the sounds, what makes this different than that, and then the people, the family atmosphere at Zildjian. That's what kind of drew me to that. I sort of had that when I was in college. I stayed in the same school for both my degrees because there was a kind of a culture there, family atmosphere, and that's what attracted me to Zildjian, was the loyalty everybody had for that, the family business that's still strong today, and there's care, there's depth, there's support for education, there's support for artists, and that's what drew me to the company and the sounds.
Thanks for that. And you took me into the family.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, I was a Zildjian player since kid, but I remember that, and I totally agree with that. It's like, if you get into this family, it's fantastic. So, speaking of cymbals, and you compose a lot.
Yes.
And when you pick cymbals for your your compositions, what's your process?
It's good. I try to think, what does the music need? So, for instance, if I compose for percussion ensemble or multi-percussion, most of the time you want cymbals that die away quickly. They're a color, but they get out of the way. They don't sustain because you want them to cover up the next thing. So I will choose a thinner cymbal, a thin crash type cymbal for striking, or a color like a hybrid or a stack cymbal or a China cymbal, something that makes a nice attack with a lot of color, but then is out of the way. When I compose for a piece for, let's say, percussion ensemble, I want hand cymbals, or I even wrote a cymbal solo for Keith Aleo.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yes,
and
yes,
it was based on the Romeo and Juliet excerpt. and I imagined that the cymbal excerpt was kind of created in the Zildjian secret vault, the room where they make the ore, they make the metal, and that secret process, and that the sword fight scene from Romeo and Juliet was really is cymbals.
No.
So they're made in the foundry, and so I called the piece Montague's Foundry, and it's really about the coming together of cymbals and this Romeo and Juliet story. And I think it's a fun piece for Keith to play, and I love hearing it. But there's more sustain there, pieces where you want sustain in the cymbals, then I maybe go with a thicker cymbal. But it's all based on percussion instruments. Most of the sound is created by the attack. So what's the color at the point of attack, and then do you want that to sustain or get out of the way? And I'll think about that, because in most composers, as you know, they tell the cymbal player where to play, but they don't tell them when to stop. So you've got to sometimes listen really deeply. When do I stop the sound? Mm-hmm. Or who am I playing with? Who am I supporting? Am I keeping time for? Or am I providing a color? Or am I bridging the gap between two sections of my transition point? And then you pick your color first, and then the amount of sustain you want. That's how I think about it.
Mm. And I'm sure you have kind of the same process in the orchestra, right? When you pick your crescendos.
Right. Yeah. In the orchestra, like my favorite cymbal to teach on at lessons is one of my first cymbals I bring to the orchestra is like a classic orchestral medium light.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you can close your eyes and hit, and the cymbals can miss each other, still make a great sound. Nobody. And I think when you start a percussionist like getting used to the sound and the color and the weight and everything of the cymbals, if they're less intimidated by trying to create a good sound, they'll want to explore things that are harder to play and maybe more challenging to play. So the profile of those cymbals just creates a beautiful kind of automatic kiss and sustain. And that's the first I'll go to with the orchestra. And then I have colleagues like Brian Mason, mm-hmm. plays, and he'll say, I think you should use something darker there, because I hear this. So, okay. And then you bring more cymbals and try them out. But I always start with those classic orchestrals, because they're just automatic for me, and they're easy to manipulate, 18 or 19 inch, and then from there I'll find something that fits based on what my colleagues say, because it's really hard to know from the back of the orchestra how it sounds in the front of the orchestra.
That's true.
So, especially something like cymbals, you get a colleague or somebody that might go out front and listen during rehearsal, or stand back far enough so they can hear the blend of everything. But that's my starting point.
That's a very good kind of, I would say, recipe, right? That
Yeah.
you have a reference point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So I hope everybody take this in, because that's a good. I'm with you, because I mean back in the days it says pair of cymbals.
Right.
And no one knows where to
16, 18, 20, 22,
Yeah.
in Europe, 28.
go. Yeah, I know. Yeah, there's one person in London who played 26 all the time.
Wow.
And it's like,
Yeah.
that's amazing, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah.
So, the typical thing, I think all of us who've been studying how much time we spend on cymbals, for example, or tambourines and all that stuff, it's not so much many times. So
I would say not enough.
Exactly. So what is your recommendation? Let's say I'm your student now, and you say, what do you recommend me to do to make it both, I think, fun and also, exciting? Yeah, be excited about it.
Great. It's kind of weird. It's like you practice these excerpts. You play snare drum, you play timpani, you do mallet instruments, and then you get a professional gig and you're playing tambourine and triangle.
Yeah.
You play cymbals.
Yeah.
You play tambourine triangle. Always.
Yeah.
There's like, I wish I could play a xylophone part. Well, now,
Yeah.
It's just because of most of the orchestral repertoire or choral repertoire, the things that we cover professionally, they're using color sounds rather than, snare drum and students come in and they haven't played those instruments because they've been learning snare drum and mallets and timpani and drum set. So I do a freshman skills class where all the freshmen have to take a semester all together in a little group, 4, 5, 6 kids, and we do a couple weeks on tambourine, and use Keith Aleo's complementary percussion book, beautiful etudes.
Yeah.
And he doesn't go deep into technique because that's something the kids need to hold in their hands and explore and learn the sounds. And I think that's the thing that makes cymbals and even triangle intimidating. It's some of the only instruments we hold when we play. We're not using sticks to play them. We're holding the triangle, when we're holding the tambourine, and we're holding the cymbals. And to have that intimacy with it, it takes a little bit getting used to. And of course with cymbals, a lot of students like, well, I'm the best snare drummer in my school, so I'm never going to play cymbals. Well, it's true, because there might not be a lot of notes, but you play a flat flam or a bad snare drum roll, nobody knows. But you play a bad cymbal crash, everyone knows.
Exactly.
You can't make me. It's the hardest instrument to hide from. I mean, you can play soft, delicate stuff, but everybody hears your sound because they're not listening for snare drum or timpani, but they sure know if the cymbal's in the right place. And the skills class gives them ability to do a few weeks on tambourine, a few weeks on cymbals, a few weeks on triangle, and it's amazing, like how intimidating it is for them to learn these etudes and play, because they've never had to do that, because they were the best in their class, now going on to college, and those instruments were the kids that weren't. I don't know why that is. Why do cymbals are some of the most artistic expressions in the percussion world, and you've got to learn how to make beautiful sounds on them. All those instruments.
Oh, yeah, good point, and good class.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I sign up for it. Yeah, thanks, Jim, for showing up today and take your
You're
time.
welcome.
And one more, like, big congratulations for Hall of Fame.
Oh, thank you.
And thanks for being a Zildjian supportive artist.
I'm so happy that I have my family with me, my Zildjian family, and thanks to everybody at Zildjian for always supporting me and supporting the educational endeavors I do, and supporting by always creating new instruments. I mean, the reason I became a percussionist, and I tell my students this, is every day somebody invents a new instrument. You got to learn the percussion world. They don't do that in winds and strings. Every day somebody's inventing a new instrument, and I see the social media I get from Zildjian, and here's a new sound, here's a new this. It's like, I got to hear this stuff. I got to, because they're creating new colors on an instrument that has so many possibilities, and I love it. So I'm very happy to be part of the Zildjian family.
Thanks, Jim. Beautiful.